Welcome back everyone to the channel. So this is very interesting. Back in Spain in 1943 they already had electric taxi cabs, and this video showcases exactly how they would change the battery in only 5 minutes. That's right. So tell me this. 1943 they had electric cabs which were going on pure electricity, and then suddenly, guess what, after the Second World War, and we know this because in America as well, in the early 20th century from 1890 to 1890 to 1910, 1920 and 30, they were using electric cars. The police was using it, and many rich people, because back in the day to have a car was very expensive, just because back in the day it was really expensive to buy a car, doesn't matter what car. But then suddenly, guess what happened? After the Second World War, they started introducing petrol cars, and electric cars, which are actually already carbon neutral, got removed. Because why? Well, very simple, because they wanted to use the petrol, and they had to build all these crazy cities in Dubai and all these places, and the only way to make it is to sell to people effectively a resource which is not needed, as in petrol, when you had electric cars. Again guys, this is a perfect example of how they lied to you and how electric cars were actually already available hundreds of years ago, at least over 100 years ago, but they were used only a little because the capitalism and the mass industry of the petrol and oil wanted to make too much profit, and of course electric cars don't make them that much profit. Talking about interesting paintings, here we have the Amazon forest. This amazing wall depicts some amazing petroglyphs made by a civilization which, guess what, was 12,000 years ago. So tell me this ancient civilizations made these amazing designed petroglyphs with cool forms and everything 12,000 years ago, alright, and in a very precarious cliff. This cliff was very hard to get, and also was very difficult, and only drones were able to actually reach that point and take photos, because humans going there, they managed there eventually, but it was really hard. So this again is something very weird. Why would the people back in the day risk their lives going on this particular wall up in the mountain, okay, in the Amazons, to make these complex petroglyphs and these complex symbols, these interesting paintings, right? This is a big question, and we're talking about 12,000 years ago. This doesn't make any sense, does it? Unless we are looking at a actually advanced civilization 12,000 years ago, which could potentially obviously be the case, as you can imagine. Now let's talk about the lights. So some of you guys have seen these photos in other YouTube videos. This, guys, is from the 18th century. What's baffling is that the lights we see here in these illustrations are clearly electric lights, which were shown even before the creation of the light bulb, which again doesn't make any sense, does it? So the technology was there already, and Thomas Edison, with his invention of the light bulb, was all a sham. It was a lie. It was a way to make people believe that technology like that did not exist beforehand, when we seen and we know that there's many illustrations from the ancient empires, from the ancient Tartarian Empire, to give you an example, which had that technology. So guys, again, don't be fooled. Technology like this, the technology we currently have, we believe that it's unique, but actually is not that unique, because it existed again in other civilizations back in the past. And talking about hidden history, what's the best way for a church to hide the past? Very simple: to build a church or a cathedral on top of previous buildings, previous temples, or previous controversial historical landmarks. And this is a perfect example of the Cathedral of Liverpool. When it had to be reconstructed and remade, remodeled, guess what? The floors and about 7 meters of soil were removed until the base of the structure was exposed in its entirety. And guess what happened there? Well, they found effectively walls, and the walls and doorways remained their usual place, but they found huge blocks at the base of the column, blocks which are perfectly cut, alright? And if you compare the car with these massive blocks which are put there in place, again, it doesn't make any sense. That base, those huge massive blocks were not put there by the church people back in the day when this was originally made in Liverpool. No, these building blocks were there maybe thousands of years ago. So they hid the history and if you dig deeper, maybe those blocks, those columns could go even deeper, like 10, 20, 30 meters deep. You never know, right? Because they didn't continue digging, all right? Because they were afraid to find the secret and the truth, obviously. So yes, this is a perfect example of what happens when you try to hide the truth by constructing churches and religious institutions on top of previous temples and previous mega structures because you're afraid of what people may find. And this has happened a lot of times in the past. This is how you reset a society. You implement a new religion, a new way of thinking, and you completely hide the other culture because you don't want people to know of the reset. And this, guys, I'm really sorry to say, but this is exactly what has happened in this particular case. And we finish this video with a very short one. I know you guys, some of you guys know about this, but it's still noteworthy to mention it. These are figurines which look like modern astronauts. That's right. So how did thousands of years ago did ancient people create such matching outfits with the current civilization? It doesn't really make any sense, right? What happens? Could this be the other way around? Did the civilization of our time learn and take technology and knowledge from the past? So maybe we are the current, I would say, old civilization, or kind of like the people who had no idea, and we're not really modern. So our current world, our current modern society, which we think it's actually modern, it's not modern, right? Some other entities gave us the technology and the knowledge, and that would make a ton more sense, right? So guys, that's it for today's video on the secrets of the past. And as always, remember, they will always hide the truth, because the truth, guess what, opens people's minds and makes them think. And when a person thinks, that's when the person is most dangerous for the government and most dangerous for institutions. When someone's independent and has independent thought, that's where problems arise, because institutions cannot control someone who is awake. They can only control people who are asleep and people who are dormant, and of course people who do not care about their past and about the humankind, about history, about what really happened in our society. Guys, that's it for today's video. As always, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and I shall see you guys later in the next upload. Bye.